Hi everyone and welcome to today's session, which is all about hormones and digestion, or hormones and our gut health and our gut. So it's really about the intricate dance between our hormones and our gut. So just to start off with, I want to explain what hormones are. So hormones are basically chemical messengers. It's a bit like email. And this email is produced by specific glands in our body because of a trigger. And these specific hormones are produced by specific glands. They then travel through the bloodstream to act on specific organs or cells in the body in order to create a specific action. So it's a bit like sending an email and saying, will you please do this? And then that person does it. And this whole system is called the endocrine system. So our main endocrine organs or endocrine glands are our adrenals, which sit above our kidneys on our back. Our thyroid, ovaries, pancreas, parathyroid hormone as well, which is attached to our thyroid. And they all basically produce hormones that are responsible for stress, such as adrenals produce stress hormones, reproductive hormones, such as our ovaries in women, metabolism, our thyroid, bone health, and the balance of glucose, sodium, and our acid-alkaline balance as well. So these hormones are really, really important to lots and lots of functions in the body. Now, there is a link between gut health and our hormones, particularly in regards to glucose control, diabetes, stress, thyroid health. What we're going to talk about specifically today is estrogen and testosterone. So I'm going to talk to you about gut health and diabetes, and also thyroid health another time. So I want to first look at the role of those two hormones on our gut. So first up, estrogen. So estrogen is an important hormone for gut health in its own right. So whilst we might think of estrogen as being a purely reproductive hormone, it actually has a much broader role, and it's really, really important for bone density, bone health, our brain function. Our cholesterol is utilized and mobilized in our body, electrolyte balance, it stops being dehydrated and make sure our cells function, skin health, and basically the makeup of our skin. Our cardiovascular system, our central nervous system, hugely important. So it's a reason why we make estrogen all over our body. There's lots of different parts of our body that actually make estrogen, not just our ovaries, because it has such an important role in all of these other areas. We also know that estrogen plays a really important role in gut health itself and the prevention of various gut conditions, including reflux, esophageal cancer, peptic ulcers, gastric cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, and colon cancer. So really important. So as I said, both men and women actually make estrogen. We make it in various places in our bodies, and we still make estrogen even after menopause because of these really important roles. We also know that testosterone is important for our gut health because it maintains that movement in your colon, as I think does estrogen and progesterone. So that's basically the movement of food through our gut. It reduces pain in our digestive tract. It has been shown to decrease inflammation in our gut. It can reduce the negative effect of cortisol on the gut and may protect the gut from inflammatory bowel diseases, IBS, and also SIBO. And again, both men and women produce testosterone because it's important for bone health, for our muscle mass and muscle strength, the way that fat is distributed on our body, production of red blood cells, as well as our libido, and also gives us our general oomph and drive as well. So not only do these hormones affect our gut and how our gut functions, but it's a two-way street. So our gut also affects our hormones and their balance. So the gut and estrogen, for example, we have specific gut bacteria that secrete an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase, and that basically puts estrogen back together after it's been pulled apart in the liver. So what happens is when we have when estrogen's kind of been circulating, it's been used, it gets taken to the liver detoxifies it and removes it. It basically breaks it into parts, and so it's not active anymore. But we have certain bacteria that can put estrogen back together again, a bit like Mr. Potato Head. If you're old enough, you'll remember you have your potato and then you put a hat on and the arms and the legs and you take them off and then you put different arms and legs on and it would be a different Mr. Potato Head. So the same kind of thing is happening in our gut. So our gut is actually a key regulator for circulating estrogen. And they found that this is actually really important when it comes to hormone balance and also hormone conditions. So when we have a really healthy gut with a good balance of that gut bacteria, because you don't want too many of the bacteria that make this beta-glucuronidase, and you don't want to have too little. So when you have a really good balance, then estrogen levels are at that sweet spot. Then not too much and not too little, because estrogen is so important to our health, but when we have too much or too little, it causes a problem. So a disruption to our gut bacteria, that gut microbiome, can in itself create too much estrogen or not enough estrogen. So too much circulated estrogen has been associated with endometriosis, endometrial hyperplasia, which is when the endometrial tissue kind of gets bigger, the cells kind of multiply and replicate, and then there's too many of them. And also breast and endometrial cancer. When we have too little estrogen, particularly in relation to other hormones, then that has been associated with polycystic ovarian syndrome or PCOS. Now, in summary, what happens is when we have dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of gut bacteria, so that's a lowered diversity, a lowered range. We need to have a really good range of different bacteria to have a healthy gut microbiome. And when that range is kind of narrowed, then that can cause problems. So, and we might have low amounts of what we call gram-negative bacteria and too much of gram-positive bacteria. That actually causes inflammation in the gut. And that inflammation itself basically affects how estrogen is regulated and the chemical processes around estrogen. And this is what's been shown to lead to endometriosis, PCOS, that endometrial hyperplasia, and also obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, endometrial breast and gastric cancers, plus brain function and infertility. So you can see why gut health is so important, because it affects all of these different bodily systems. So having a healthy gut is really, really important to having that balance of estrogen. So again, that could be a reason why you could be experiencing hormone imbalance type health conditions, or even menopause or perimenopausal symptoms could actually be because your gut health isn't as healthy as it could be. Now, when it comes to testosterone, we think that testosterone is also regulated and mediated by the gut. There's a bacteria called Clostridium scindens, which basically converts glucocorticoids, such as cortisol. So cortisol is a glucocorticoid. It converts cortisol into androgens, and androgens is a kind of an umbrella term, of which testosterone is one of them. Testosterone is an androgen. So again, this imbalance of bacteria, this dysbiosis, can increase androgens such as testosterone. Dysbiosis, that imbalance, and also intestinal permeability, which is another name, is leaky gut. Not a great name for it, but that's what we know it as. That can lead to endotoxins, which are basic toxic substances made by bacteria, specific type of bacteria. They end up in our bloodstream, shouldn't really be there because they've been absorbed. And we know that sometimes if that travels to various parts in our body, it can create inflammation and problems in other parts of our body. It may cause inflammation in our brain, and has been associated with depression. But there's also some research now to show that these endotoxins can travel to the testicles and can possibly cause a reduction in testosterone and also sperm production. So having an unhealthy gut, having dysbiosis, having inflammation and possibly a leaky gut can actually cause havoc both for estrogen and also testosterone. So what can you do about this? Well, if you have any hormonal imbalances or hormonal conditions, or you're perimenopausal or menopausal, then look to improve your gut health first and foremost, rather than thinking, what can I do to balance my hormones? What medicines or herbs can I do to balance balance my hormones. Look to your gut first, heal your gut, and then everything should fall into place, because that will actually prevent the imbalances in the first place. So the number one thing I could say for you to do is to increase the variety of plant foods in your diet. I know that's not sexy, but it's true. There's a direct correlation between the diversity of gut bacteria that prevents that dysbiosis and the diversity of plants in our diet. Now, I'm not vegetarian, I'm vegan. I'm not saying that you have to suddenly become a vegetarian, but we eat way too much meat in comparison to vegetables, and vegetables is what we need. So just look at how much you're having, and is it changed? Are you having broccoli and carrot every single day, or can you mix it up and have different plants every day? If you're interested, book a call with me, see how I can help to improve your gut health. If you've got any hormonal imbalances and you'd like some advice, book a call and I'd love to help. Let's see if we can heal your gut, make your gut function better, work better, in order to then have an impact on your hormones, so that your hormones naturally balance out. So have a good day. I hope that's food for thought.